Thank you, Madam Speaker. We are in this House privileged from time to time to be part of history, and tonight the member for Griffith has once again shared that privilege with us. My proudest moment as a Member of Parliament was sitting where the member for Ryan is currently sitting some years ago as Kevin Rudd delivered the apology to Australia's Indigenous people. The proudest moment I think many of us, I say without a hint of partisanship on this side of the House, have felt and are likely to feel. It has been commented by members opposite that Kevin Rudd defeated who those honourable members think is the best Prime Minister in Australia's history. We would beg to differ. But we would say this: he defeated the most formidable Conservative campaigner in Australia's history, and that is no mean feat. And in delivering that election victory to our side of politics, he enabled many people on this side of politics to do many good things. The apology has been mentioned. The abolition of what we would say then and now was a very unfair set of arrangements through work choices was achieved because of that election victory. And in good time, education reform and the establishment of an enduring social reform in the National Disability Scheme, Disability Care, working with his colleagues on this side of the House for those reforms which will stand the test of time. Now, in 2007, Madam Speaker, those of us on this side of the House who were here in opposition were not convinced we were going to win that election. History has a habit of looking inevitable in retrospect. There was nothing inevitable about that victory, just as there was nothing inevitable about the Prime Minister's victory in this election. History is made by those of us who participate in it. And the Labor Party asked the member for Griffith, Kevin, to take the leadership and therefore deliver that victory over Australia's most formidable campaigner, certainly of the post-war era. I associate myself with the remarks of all. We are often critical of the Prime Minister. Can I say I think the Prime Minister just gave the best speech he has ever given in this House. His gracious remarks towards the member for Griffith were well meant and well received. Being Prime Minister is, as has been mentioned, an enormous honour, but it is also an enormous sacrifice, particularly as the member for Grayndler mentioned. The party called upon Kevin to return to the leadership earlier this year. It was not a call that was necessarily in his best interest to accept. He could have sat back and declined the call. He knew when he took the Prime Ministership that the odds were long. He knew when he took the Labor Party's leadership that it would well end in defeat, most likely would. However, he saw it as his responsibility to take the leadership, and he has much to be proud of, as does Julia Gillard, as does everybody who served as ministers and supporters of the previous government. Madam Speaker, I'm very proud to regard myself as a friend of Kevin, F-O-K. It's quite a ride being a friend of Kevin. He does provide thrills and spills. But it's always an honour, as it has been tonight. In what I regard as the finest political autobiography I've been able to read, Denis Healy's autobiography, The Time of My Life, he writes about being regarded as the greatest Prime Minister Britain never had, and he reflects on that. And he writes that it would have been better to be Prime Minister than not be, because of the opportunity to contribute. And he's right about that, of course, from the member for Griffith's point of view. It was better that he became Prime Minister because he had the chance to do much good for his nation, much good for his party, and his party reforms will endure just as his national reforms will endure. The process we've just gone through, both the member for Maribyrnong and the member for Grayndler would agree, was a good one. The member for Maribyrnong might agree a little more strongly, but they would both agree that it's a good one. And I believe in time it will infect other political parties and Australia's body politic will all the better for it. I also believe the member for Griffith, yet as a relatively young man, has much to contribute to Australia and the world. He will do so in another form, in different ways, but his contribution is still there to be made and for all to see. Thank you, members.